we have a Slack channel that everyone puts, or people are supposed to put articles up on. I don't do it very often, but John always does. And he had, what I'm very impressed by, it's from Detroit Hockey Now. Mm-hmm. And Mitch Marner is like the big free agent to be. He's a big-time scorer, point producer that obviously, you know, with the salary cap money that the Bruins would have, that you know, they'd be interested in him. You'd think so. Pierre LeBrun says that that Marner is interested in the Red Wings, Ducks, Chicago Blackhawks, and Los Angeles Kings, and reports that Vegas and Florida are of interest to Marner. Well, Vegas and Florida will never be able to get him. The Golden Knights have $10 million in cap space with 5 of their own players to sign. The Panthers have $19 million in cap space, and their Ekblad and Bennett still aren't signed. So the Red Wings do have money to sign him, and I guess that's players want to play in Detroit, I guess. That's always kind of been the case, and Yzerman's the GM over there. But the thing is that if the Bruins offer him the most money, I would assume he would go to the Bruins.
But offering the most money by a little bit or offering the most money by a lot? I mean, we talked about how, I think it was the Red Sox had to pay the suck tax just to get people to come here because they've been bad for a while. The Bruins don't have a head coach. They're struggling. Their roster they have some core pieces, but not a lot of depth up front. I mean, if the prices are even, if some team offers Marner $12.5 million a year and the Bruins offer $13, I don't think it matters all that much.
Why would he go to Detroit, though, instead of Boston? Like, Detroit's not that much better off. And you can say, like, well, Dylan Larkin's there. But, I mean, the Bruins have as much talent as Detroit does.
Maybe it's a younger team that can be better in the near future. I don't know the answer to that. But what I do know is, and I asked this to the room and anyone else when it became known that Marner was leaving, why would Mitch Marner come here? You know, again, not a lot of stability as far as the head coach is concerned, but it might be money, but I think the Bruins are going to have to overspend.
There's teams that have done a lot worse than the Bruins. The Bruins have the most points, I believe, since this century started. Like, they've only had really a down year.
But they are now in a situation where they could be facing multiple down years for them.
Right, but Chicago's a worse team than them, and Detroit's the same, so I don't really understand why those two teams would be preferable other than it's some kind of random geography that he's done. You know, the reasoning for those teams doesn't seem like Boston's an original 6 team, so that's off the table. If he wants to play in the U.S., the Boston's a U.S. team, so that's off the table. It's, you know, he's dead set on playing in the Midwest? I mean, no, because he said Florida and he said Vegas. So there's nothing that Boston doesn't have that I would think would keep him from taking more money from here at all with those teams. And you're throwing out these ideas, which are fine, but they're just not real. Like, Detroit's not in better shape than Boston, and Chicago's certainly not in better shape than Boston to win now or to win in the future. So I don't really understand that argument at all.
Would it be now? Do you agree or disagree that the Bruins are going to have to outspend everyone to bring him in? If the money is even, would he choose Boston over some of these other towns?
I don't know.
Other cities. Right?
Well, if he likes Detroit better than Boston, then first of all, John, I think he'd take more money to go anywhere. Why would the money be the same? This is not really a real argument. But, yeah, John, if he wants to go to Detroit, in Detroit, because for whatever reason, and Detroit offers him the same amount of money as Boston, then he'd choose Detroit. If it happens that both contracts are exactly the same, and for some reason no one will budge either way, he would, if he likes Detroit better, then he would choose Detroit. But it's nothing in the structure of the team or the future of the team that I could see in any way would shape that. Like, I think that the teams that he named are bad. So none of them made the playoffs. They don't have the run of success that the Bruins have. So maybe it's just his personal proclivities. I don't know. It seemed when I read that list, it just seemed more random than anything else. Just talk. Like, just random talk. Like, I don't take anything out of that. Like his preferred destinations, and then they're all over the map and don't really make any sense. It's just like he named cities he likes.
Will the Bruins step up and overpay for a guy like that, a guy who's going to be making more money than your captain, David Pastrnak? Do you think the Bruins are going to extend themselves like this?
I don't know if they should.
Well, we go back to the argument Ty Anderson was giving us when he was in here last week. The Bruins can't turn their back on talent at this point.
No, they can't, but they can also not pay, an exorbitant amount and make someone one of the highest paid players in the league. They don't have to take that. They can't turn their back on talent like if there was a trade available or if there was, talented players available. But Mitch Marner is going to make, there's a shot he could make more money than anyone who's ever played in the National Hockey League. With the way the cap's extending and everything, I think that they can afford not to overpay if they believe they're overpaying a guy because they're not in position to win right now, right? Like if they had cap room and they just were like an offensive player away from winning a cup, then you could make that argument. But I don't think that that's a decision that they're going to have to make.
Guys like him don't become available. The plus side to bringing him in here is guys like him. Where he is. He's only 28. He's a 90 to 100 point a year guy. He's a right wing, which is something the Bruins need. I mean, he's your number one guy.
If he was a center, I would say that there's no doubt that they need him.
Jesus.
But a right wing, what you just said makes me a little less certain that that's where they want to spend all their money. But we shall see. I just wouldn't be worried about that list, I guess is my point.
I have no trouble bringing a guy like that in. You just need another guy.
Fair enough. If they did, it's not like I would, it would be more interesting if they did. It's not like I would, not go to games.
You stand a chance just by virtue of the fact that you're not a Canadian city. Because that's the one thing that seems
well,
to be
that's the thing is that if he was like naming, if the Bruins were in Canada, then I'd get it. Like you can't get him because you're a Canadian city. It's like Vegas, Florida, Detroit, Chicago. Like they're different levels of. Two of them aren't happening, and then the rest is just jimble jamble of. Yeah. And like your point, John, that the Bruins are so much worse than these other teams. No, they're not. Chicago's organization is 1,000 times worse than the Bruins, and Detroit's the same. Yzerman hasn't done anything for Detroit since he's been the GM, which is shocking. Because, he was supposed to be the best with all he did in Tampa.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.